thoughts on how this team played, and what were some of the biggest takeaways you had from that?
The biggest takeaway is that we got to hit each other a little bit. We got to bang. We got to see a little bit of the young guys. The old guys went after each other for a while, and then we kind of backed off on them. But it allows us to figure out who was going to be those 2s and 3s, and we're going to have to do that again this week.
And then last week you told me to ask you again about the competitions happening between each position group. And what are maybe some of the players you've seen kind of step up in this last week of practice that maybe weren't at the beginning?
Well, I'm not going to single anybody out, but they probably told you that before you asked the question. But I think for the most part, the young guys are starting to get it. We're going to have a much better feel of what's going on after we scrimmage this weekend.
What are some of the improvements you think the team can make throughout that?
Well, I think they can make a lot of improvements. We started with this morning. I think we had a very aggressive goal line period. And the big thing about a football team is you can close your eyes and there's certain sounds that should happen at practice. And those sounds happen today, and that's got me excited. You know, the shoulder pads pop when you hit them a certain way. They're not just up there for decoration and make you look big. And we had some popping going on this morning, which means we got a chance.
Can I rattle through some just personnel questions?
If they're not going to tell everybody exactly what's going on, yes.
You're going to say what you're going to say, but I'll go quick.
All right.
Dakota was out of a boot. You have a feel for when he might be able to practice?
I think that he'll be ready and with us in the first game.
Okay. McKinley, I know you said he's sick. Do you have a feel for when he'll be back?
I don't know when the good Lord's going to make him better.
That's fair. Luke Benson, I think we've seen him just watching practice since Friday. What's going on with him?
I think that he's got an owie and he'll be back with us soon.
Okay. Josh Huff, we saw.
Yeah, he was the one guy that got hurt in our scrimmage, and we're still waiting to see what exactly happened.
So broadly, you think health-wise you're doing pretty well compared to the last couple of years?
I do. We had one major scrimmage. Josh is the only one we're waiting to see what happened. He basically did it. I'm not going to talk about how he did it. But, we're still waiting to see. So we're in good shape.
Any reason for that, Dino?
On the what?
On the good luck with the injuries so far. What do you think?
I don't know. I don't know. The thing that happened last year has never had happen in 35 years. So I just don't want it to happen again this year. So we're in good shape.
Is it the fact you only get 7 fully padded practices? Does that have any contributing factor to it, do you think?
Okay, now listen. Okay, you're talking to a guy that started with 3-a-days, and then he went to 2-a-days, and now we're in 1-a-days, and they get breaks. So, no, I don't think it has anything to do with it.
How many of those you guys have left of the 7?
Oh, you're going to – 5? 5, 4?
Okay.
Okay.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, they tell me when I can. I'm the head coach, but they tell me when I can go full pads here.
Following up on today's practice, if you had one word to describe it, what would it be?
I'd say it was a roller coaster, but it's a different type of roller coaster. There was times the offense came out strong, and then the defense said, we're going to have none of that. And then the defense came out again and said, didn't you hear me the first time? And then the offense came back and said, no, I did not hear you the second time. We're here to stay. So it was a very competitive practice.
Can I ask you one more personnel question? I came out looking for Chris Leitch. Is that how you say his last name? I couldn't find it. Is he practicing?
He is ill. Sick.
Sick.
Yep.
So you expect him back?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Nothing wrong with his body.
Can you talk about the offensive line and how you think that unit is coming together so far?
Well, I think the big thing is we've got to still get them all out here at the exact same time. We've had them out here, but now we've gone from pads to no pads to blah, 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 and we got to get them all back there so we can get our continuity. But they're all healthy.
How are you shaking up the first team line without Chris?
Just rolling the number 2s in. We got some young kids that are getting a lot of reps. They're still making mental mistakes, but physically they're not too much out of place, which is exciting, really, to be that young.
So who's your other guard besides Darius?
I'm not going to tell you who's at the guard. Yeah, the young guys are playing well. The young guys are playing
Multiple guys getting slotted in there?
Multiple guys, but certain guys are doing better than others.
Sure.
Dino, does your depth chart at special teams see a lot of movement kind of in camp here in August?
Yeah, it does in the seasons too. Most depth charts in special teams is like that. It's based off of who's traveling, who's not traveling, unless guys are special team players that are going to travel no matter what. So you try to get as many of those guys as possible, but traditionally it's based off of position. I remember we had Matthew Slater at UCLA that plays for the Patriots. He technically, was one year he was a receiver, one year he was a DB. Those guys move around in positions in the NFL, but he's basically a special teams player, and I don't know, I think he's been a captain over there for a bunch of years. He does a heck of a job for Mr. Belichick and such. So we're looking for those guys all the time, but a lot of times those guys are on a rotation basis in the special teams.
Do you ever find those aha moments where you're like, whoa, this guy could be a secret weapon here on special teams that maybe we didn't see before?
Yeah, it does, and sometimes it happens in the strangest places. Like we have competitive drills that you guys don't get an opportunity to see, and it's one of those moments in practice where everybody kind of stops and watch the young kids and watch the walk-ons, and there's still veterans that do it, but you normally know a junior or senior whether they can or they can't.
You talked about wanting to see the quarterbacks decide that for themselves. Did you start to see any separation in Saturday's scrimmage?
You know what? I thought there was a little bit of separation. We're going to really start to tune that up starting tomorrow around here, and we got to really start to sharpen the knife, so to speak. We've given a lot of people a lot of reps, and now it's time to start whittling down and making sure we've got the right people in there.
A couple more for Coach.
And then, any hints about who was making the separation?
No.
Okay. And just last week we talked to Josh, and he was kind of saying about how with the 3-3-5, with you guys introducing it last season, it kind of took till 3 quarters till everyone on the defensive unit was kind of used to everything, and then that's when you guys started adding more movements and more additions to the set.
Yeah,
How do you think it's been this year?
It's been really good. Those guys they're past the high school stage and that stuff. They're moving around. They're doing a great job. They're very confusing. They do a lot of looks, and that has slowed down some of the progress with the younger guys on offense because they didn't get an opportunity to really see it in the spring. But for the older guys, they have a decent feel for it. But, that's one of the reasons why we went to it. It can be very complex at times.
You said you wanted to get a look at Jason Simmons in pads. What have you been able to see since last week?
Direct question, direct answer. He's a good player.
Can you expand a little maybe on your safety competition? It seems like there's obviously Jihad and Rob played last year, and Greenwood, a few other guys. Like, how open is it? How many people are still kind of in the mix there?
It's still open, but there's no doubt that Jihad is a good player and Hannah's a good player. We're trying to build the guys up from the bottom to see who else can get in there. And they have to have the ability to play different positions to make sure we have the best guys on the field.
I was going to ask, I know Jihad, I feel like Jihad's pretty good on the boundary, but do you feel like the rest of those other guys are kind of moving around? Like, are you trying them?
Yeah, we're moving guys around just like the offensive line because we've got to build depth. We don't know when we're going to have a pregame warm-up and lose a guy that could go in the 3rd round.
Yeah.
So we've seen some strange things happen around here, but we're always trying to build depth, and they're doing a good job. But the 2 guys you mentioned, Hannah and Jihad, are definitely in the lead.
I think you're about halfway. Can you give a midterm report on the?
We're not halfway yet. It's not exactly halfway.
Through camp, maybe.
No.
What, 21 practices?
No, we've got 17. I'm gonna say the wrong number. We got a bunch of time before the first game.
All right. So
Okay.
where are you as opposed to where you'd like to be?
We have repped a whole bunch of people, and now we're going to start sharpening the pencil and get ready to write some notes.
All right, thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Before you take off, I got